quit slow blinking at me.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
And jackknife my legs and kick you both in the fucking jaw with my foot bone.
I'm sober.
Jesus Christ.
Came down from to give me a pass. Hey.
2013's Wolf of Wall Street remains one of the greatest dark comedies to have ever been released, thanks to Martin Scorsese's excellent direction. However, that does not mean he chose to keep everything in his script to achieve that excellence. Jonah Hill's Donnie and John Bernthal's Brad find themselves in the middle of an argument that is supposed to be serious. But Donnie's lines and Jonah's acting were so funny that Bernthal couldn't stop laughing throughout the scene. You can even see him trying to cover it up by looking around and raising his arm. But even then, he couldn't stop himself from breaking character. In his defense, Donnie's line about being given a pass from a very crass place would have probably made anyone laugh.
You gotta be kidding.
What? Oh my fucking... Oh my God.
This particular scene may not have made it to the final cut of the movie, but it still exists as an outtake, so it counts for a scene. During the filing of the elevator scene in The Master, one of the actors let out a very loud fart that had everyone in splits, including actors like Amy Adams, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Joaquin Phoenix, who actually did his best to stay in character, but still let out a few grins. To have people of this level crack up because of a fart is not an easy task, but the fart was so ridiculously loud that nobody could avoid addressing it, and the crew had to wait for everyone to calm down before they could start filing the scene again.
You both in the fucking jaw with my foot bone. I'm gonna light you all on fire, but I'm gonna start with you, Jill.
That's completely uncalled for.
Off, Jill. God, everybody hates you.
In This Is 40, there is a confrontation between the characters played by Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, and Melissa McCarthy. Melissa plays the extremely loud and crass Catherine, who takes shots at Rudd's and Mann's characters, Pete and Debbie. The scene has an extended cut, which is not included in the main part of the movie, but does happen to find its way in the credits, where McCarthy's insults become a lot more detailed and hilarious. All of this is improvised, and it caught everyone off guard, especially the actors. Both Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann couldn't stop laughing here, with Mann completely breaking character throughout the scene. Even McCarthy breaks into a laugh, but only after the director yells cut. Otherwise, she was doing quite well for the entirety of the scene.
Totally uncalled for,
You're
Catherine.
a man. Everybody hates you, and I'm glad your husband died. Because you're a ass.
When Jim Carrey is around, there's bound to be a lot of laughter, and the story is no different in The Cable Guy. Carrey plays the titular character, and during a scene with Matthew Broderick's character Stephen, he tries to do an impression of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. He does this by putting chicken skin on his face, and then saying the iconic line,
"Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again."
This was an improv moment by Carrey, and it made Broderick smile throughout the scene, mainly because of the tone Carrey used to say that line. This particular sequence did end up making it to the final cut of the movie, and it inspired many people to do the same thing as a parody of it.
You are not a monster.
Hello, Clarice.
Goldstein,
Yes, Mr. Stark.
give me a fat beat to beat my buddy sister.
Iron Man is supposed to be one of the most arrogant characters in the Marvel Universe, at least during the first few movies, and Robert Downey Jr. does a great job at it too. It turns out that during one of the party scenes in Iron Man 2, he was having such a good time that he couldn't stop laughing on set. This is when Don Cheadle's character, James Rhodes, comes in to stop Tony Stark's party. Naturally, Iron Man doesn't take too kindly to this, and he decides to rebel by telling the DJ to play a new tune. At this moment, Robert Downey Jr. couldn't hold back his emotions, and he bursts out into a laugh in the middle of the line. Luckily for him, this actually looked like it was a lot more in sync with Iron Man being drunk senseless, so the scene made it to the final cut too.
Hey, fucking Keith, you cocksucker, what the fuck?
Number 4, step 4.
This is a very popular moment already, but because it's so impactful, it just has to be mentioned again. During the lineup scene of The Usual Suspects, Benicio del Toro's character Fred Fenster had a serious case of flatulence and couldn't stop letting out gas during the shoot. This led to everyone breaking into a laugh, including the crew, and it really upset the director because he wanted them to stay in character and maintain a certain tone. That clearly did not happen as per his wishes, so he had no other choice but to include the non-stop laughing in the final cut. There's also a few reports about the other actors messing around during this scene to make it even funnier, because with Del Toro's farting, this was definitely not going to be a serious moment in the movie.
Balls. We want the finest wines available to humanity. And we'll install a fucking jukebox in here. I've been all used to stop a bit.
In Whitnall and I, there's the famous tea room scene where Richard E. Grant can't stop laughing as he says one of his lines. This was not at all intentional, but after the first few takes, Grant couldn't stop laughing throughout the scene, and the final take had to include his break in character. This is because the director and screenwriter Bruce Robinson got fed up of trying to get the job done with a straight face. As per Grant's words, he thought he could hear the ladies behind him laughing at his line, which led him to also break into laughter. He insists that it was not an improv scene from his end and was genuinely an accident, even if it may have happened throughout all the takes they shot for this scene.
What it's all about right there. See how it gets. Throw it away. That's not working. Can't stop it. You can.
Hitch is a funny movie in its own right, but there's one scene where Kevin James had Will Smith laughing so much that he had to cover his face. This is when Alex tries to help Albert with his dancing skills, but first wants to see what kinds of moves he's got already. Needless to say, the performance that Kevin Smith gives right after was enough to make Will Smith break character. As a matter of fact, we noticed that Alex has his mouth covered right until he stops the music and asks Albert to never do that ever again.
Don't ever do that again.
It was improv from Will Smith because he knew that if he couldn't cover his laughing face, then they would never have been able to get through this scene.
Next subject.
Get out.
Sometimes when I wipe, and I'll wipe, and I'll wipe, and I'll wipe, and I'll wipe.
Chris Pratt rose to fame due to his role as Andy in the famed Parks and Recreation TV show. His character is not the brightest bulb on the planet, but it did lead to a hilarious blooper involving him and his wife April, played by Aubrey Plaza. It's when they go to the doctor and Andy talks about certain issues he has while wiping once he's done with his business. He even compares it to wiping a marker.
It's like I'm wiping a marker or something.
Which is hilarious on its own, but Aubrey Plaza was so taken aback by the whole thing that she just could not stop laughing at what she was hearing. You can notice that she is constantly laughing throughout the sequence and isn't able to keep a straight face throughout the blooper.
You know the song. Sing along.
Friends has many memorable moments that have made its fans laugh countless times, but some of the scenes turned out to be so hilarious that the cast also lost control throughout. One particular moment that stands out is when Ross is playing the bagpipes in terrible fashion, but feels as if he's doing a great job. He then randomly tells everyone to sing along as if they know what he's playing. Nobody joins in as they are trying to figure out what's going on, but then Lisa Kudrow's character Phoebe suddenly starts singing random noises to the tunes that Ross is playing. It's so out of pocket that Jennifer Aniston loses it completely and starts smiling throughout the scene. She just couldn't control herself, and her laughter can be seen in the final cut as well.
So?
No.
Like, share, and subscribe if you liked this clip, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Okay then, see you soon!